Hello and welcome to the Unash and Dukes podcast. Happy New Year as we're in 2026, everybody. Hope you had a great new year out there. A pleasant one, a happy one, and a safe one. But we look forward to 2026 here on the Unash and Dukes podcast. I'm Scott. He's Mark. Thanks to our great sponsors. We'll talk about them coming up here in just a moment. And go ahead and go out to our YouTube page, Unash and Dukes podcast. Go out and be a subscriber. And it gets very easy once you subscribe, Mark. Then you can just 2 clicks and you can get all the information that you need from us, right? It's that simple.
Yeah, that's pretty easy on YouTube. Subscribing is like liking something on another social media page. It doesn't cost anything, and it's a benefit to the listeners. So yeah, hit subscribe before you listen, and you're good to go.
There you go. And comment on it if you'd like. And we love to hear the comments and read the comments. We're not hearing them, we're reading them now. That's one of the differences between this platform and our previous platform. We're reading, doing a lot of reading now. But big thanks to the people that make it possible. That would be our great sponsors, Emil's Hideaway on First Avenue Southeast in Cedar Rapids. Happy New Year to their entire congregation over there. They are open at 4 o'clock Monday through Saturday. They're right next to the Home Depot and across from Lindale Mall. And that is technically on the southeast side of Cedar Rapids. They're the presenting sponsor of the Unash and Dukes podcast. Thanks to Bim Ritter Sportswear downtown, 817 2nd Avenue Southeast in Cedar Rapids, and online at bimritter.com. And thanks to those great people, as well as Hunt Graphic Innovations. Todd Hunt does a great job with our CRM Live Sports website. And you can also get our archived Unash and Duke podcast over there. Thanks as well to Kurt Gustafson Agency of American Family Insurance. Kurt located on Johnson Avenue Northwest, right across from the Johnson Avenue Hy-Vee. Stop in and see him. And then thanks to Dr. John Woolner at Epiphany Dermatology on Council Street Northeast in Cedar Rapids. All our great sponsors. And if you'd like to come on board in 2026, reach out to us. We have an email address that you can find very easily, right, Mark?
We have several of them. Some of you have our personal email addresses, and go ahead and reach out. But it's unashanddukes@gmail.com. One of us will respond, and even if you have a comment, if you're interested in coming on board as a sponsor, reach out to us.
Good or bad comment.
I'm okay with either.
We hope for good, but that's the way it goes. Lots to digest on the 2nd of January, 2026, and I think everything starts with the college football playoff. By the way, our last podcast, which we recorded right after the Iowa Vanderbilt game in the ReliaQuest Bowl. If you missed that, go back and listen to that. I think some really good stuff that we covered as far as that particular event is concerned. But two of the teams that Iowa lost to, Mark, are in the Final Four of the college football playoff. And you can make a pretty good argument for not only one-score games, but one-play games, if you will, with Oregon and Indiana. So someone Iowa played and fell to is going to be in the college football playoff national championship. And yet again, the Big Ten is assured of having a team in the final of the college football playoff for this year.
Is everybody on the Indiana bandwagon yet? If not, then maybe they should be after that thrashing of Alabama. And man, they just keep proving people that the doubters wrong. And I heard Paul Feinbaum, who's got probably many more listeners than we do, not probably, he does, saying if Indiana had to go through the gauntlet of the SEC, maybe it wouldn't be undefeated. Okay, Paul, maybe they would be. I mean, Indiana barely got through the Big Ten regular season unscathed. Maybe shouldn't have beaten Iowa. Maybe really shouldn't have beaten Penn State. on a last second catch at the end. But the fact of the matter is it did, and it's gotten better and better. I think the biggest thing impressed me was not the margin of victory, but Indiana's the only team in the last two seasons among those with a first round bye to win. 1-7 for teams with the first round bye in the college football playoffs the last 2 years. And then that's not good. I don't know what it says about the playoffs, but the fact that Indiana won the way it did, it said everything to me. It's a complete team with an outstanding quarterback, and it did my heart good as a former center to see the offensive player of the game be Indiana center Pat Coogan, who was a Notre Dame last year. But I'm telling you what, Scott, that offensive line is really good. A lot of times I watch games, I just watch the offensive line, and maybe you do too. I watch the blurring of the colors, so to speak, and you can tell who's dominating the line of scrimmage. Man, in that Rose Bowl, it was Indiana. It was pure crimson at the line of scrimmage. Pat Coogan in the middle of that thing was terrific. And I know Iowa won uh, the offensive lineman award, but that's as good offensive line play as I've seen all year.
Yeah, I went 4-0 in the first round, 1-3 in the second round. I
I'm
didn't
not
get
keeping
Indy.
track of mine.
I did get Indiana right, but I thought it would be a heck of a lot closer. I'm with you. The most impressive team by a mile, and that says a lot because Oregon. We'll get to them coming up in a bit. They look good, but this Indiana team is is for real. And if you go back to they've been proving the naysayers wrong the whole time last year, and yes, they got crushed by Notre Dame. Maybe Indiana wasn't quite ready for the big time bright lights yet. I don't know. But when they went out to Eugene and beat Oregon, I think that kind of let everybody know that hey, okay, or Indiana from what they were last year with Kurt Signetti, they've improved it this year. They still got a lot of James Madison guys, but they bring in guys like Coogan. They bring in running backs. Um,
Mendoza.
Mendoza, obviously, tell you what, he impressed me, and I like the guy a whole lot. And it's going to just kill me when he's the quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders for the next handful of years. And it's too bad because he's going into a dumpster fire in Las Vegas. But I think he's going to be the number one choice. He was phenomenal. The offensive line was phenomenal. The defense was as well. Now, they knocked out Ty Simpson. He wasn't benched. We'll get to social media coming up a little bit later in this college football playoff segment, but they took him out of the game and then they forced him out of the game with the Indiana defense. They remind me of watching Dwayne Schulte's teams at Xavier. It's not, yes, they've got perhaps the best quarterback in the country. They've got really talented players. Are they the most talented players? I mean, are Surratt and Cooper and others the top wide receiving core in the Big Ten? Even probably not. You'd probably say USC's would probably be given more stars or more accolades for the NFL draft. That offensive line, they didn't win the Joe Moore Award. You don't hear much about them. They do their job, Bart. They're well coached. Offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, Kurt Signetti. It's a team that just goes out and, okay, left guard, you need to get your butt over there and pull. Center, you need to do that as well. And they do it. And they go right to the whistle. And it's fun to watch that Indiana team. There's no weakness in it. And I don't know if that means they're going to win the national championship. It's still, in my mind, really hard to say possible college football national champion Indiana Hoosiers, but I think we're to that point now. We are to that point right now. There's a good chance Indiana is going to win this thing.
What I saw yesterday was a whole lot better team than what I saw when it played Iowa and when it played Penn State. It was so well connected, so well drilled, so dominant in so many aspects against not the best Alabama team of all time, but still a very good Alabama team. And Kalen DeBoer is going to get a lot of heat over this, not the loss necessarily, but the margin of victory. And you really have to give Kurt Signetti um, his due. You can say he's arrogant, he's a little different, but the guy can coach. I mean, he won at Elon, he won at James Madison, and I had my doubts whether a guy from coming from Elon and James Madison could turn around an Indiana program that wasn't much when he got there, and never has been a whole lot. I mean, it hasn't won a Rose Bowl for decades until yesterday. But you got to give the guy credit. He's a different bird, but man, the guy can coach.
He can. And Indiana rolling right now. And they got off to a good start in that game. And that is something that in 2 years that the other first round bye teams have not done. They have looked rusty. And that goes back to Ohio State on the 31st on New Year's Eve. Um, and I don't know. Listen, are we going to get to 16 soon? Yes. And there aren't going to be any buys. And I think this is just playing into that and feeding into that even more, Mark, because now it's 1-7 in the 2 years of the 12-team playoff. And you take away Indiana's great performance, and it's been a lot of just flat lining for these teams. Ohio State, it took them, in my estimation, about a quarter and 1 quarter and maybe 10 minutes to get their rhythm back. Got it back a little bit too late in that game against a really good Miami defense. Um, but Ohio State looked like they hadn't played in 28 days or whatever it was. And certainly my darling team, who may have looked even worse than Alabama yesterday, Texas Tech, looked like they hadn't played in 60 days. Or maybe Oregon is that good. Um, and we can get to that coming up in a moment. Best game of the day by far was Georgia and Ole Miss. And maybe it's just because of the familiarity between the two. I think it helped Georgia that they played in the SEC championship game. I will say that I'm anti-championship game now, but it helped Georgia. I think they did not show the rust that the other teams have in 2 years. But Ole Miss is a good football team. Bottom line in this, you've got one team from the SEC, one team from the ACC, two teams from the Big Ten. If you're a third place team in a power conference this year, you did pretty well. Miami, third place in the ACC, is in the Final Four. Oregon, third place in the Big Ten, is in the Final Four. Ole Miss, third place in the SEC, is in the Final Four to go along with the Big Ten champion Indiana. But yes, people are all over Alabama. People are all over Vanderbilt, for crying out loud. Um, People are all over everyone on social media, the SEC. But I think what we've proven over the last couple of years, especially this year, I don't think the Big Ten gets enough credit. And the Big Ten, I think, is puffing their chests out right now. And I think they should puff their chests out right now.
Could win three straight national championships, right? Um, yeah, it's crazy. Three out of the four remaining teams didn't participate in the conference championship games, and draw your own conclusion from that. But that game last night was a hell of a game, and you figured it would be because Georgia came back and beat Mississippi during the regular season. But I'm telling you what, this Trinity Chambliss is a heck of a story. The Ole Miss quarterback. I mean, he comes from Division II Ferris State, which I think is in Michigan, right?
Yes.
It's a Division II school. He led them to the national championship last year. He wasn't even the starting quarterback at the beginning of this year. He took over early in game 2 or 3. I don't remember which, but that guy is a player. And he's petitioned for another year related to a respiratory issue he had 2 or 3 years ago at Ferris State. Whether he's granted that, whether he's going to have another year at Mississippi, whether he's going to have another year at LSU. Uh, oh, I'll tell you what, I was so impressed with that guy, and not surprised that Mississippi won it all. I laughed my rear end off last night watching the workers wheel the stage on the field, not once but
Oh,
twice at the end of the game. And some of my good friends are kind of needling the officials for, oh, come on, this game's over. But what if, after that safety, Georgia throws 14 laterals and ends up scoring?
it's
And
happened.
and the officials got it right. It was kind of humorous to watch that whole thing unfold with the replay and the stage being wheeled and on and off the field. But at the end of the day, it was a heck of a game.
It was, and I'll say this about the refereeing. I agree with you at the end. The, the replay reviews are getting nauseating, but that's a whole different podcast for us to discuss. Much like every level, and we see this in the high school playoff tournament as well. The deeper you get, the least, the less penalties there are. You can basically right now, calf rope anyone, and you're not going to get a penalty at this point, and it's going to get even more that way. Um, Referees are told don't get in the way of the game, don't be a part of the game, don't influence the game, and you see it all the time. I mean, they're letting wide receivers and D backs go at it like you wouldn't believe in the postseason and in the championship football playoff. But I agree with you. They needed to put a second on the clock. Apparently, it's a stage. The wheels are really good, or it doesn't weigh a whole lot
It
because they
was
got
pretty
that thing
smooth.
on and off several times.
Smooth, yeah. I don't know. You don't watch Shirts and Skins with a football version of Shirts and Skins, but I prefer the fewer penalty flags, the better, because it's an old axiom. There's a hold on every play, and there probably is. And when it's called, and right now, I totally agree with you. The fighting between the defensive backs and receivers is, that late game penalty on the Mississippi defensive back. I don't know. Was it really
It wasn't as bad
interference?
as some of them during the entire game.
No, no. But getting back to the games, not a lot of people are talking about Oregon. Um, to shut out a Texas Tech team that was averaging 42 points a game, that was pretty impressive. And maybe Texas Tech had that first round bye hangover. I don't know. But now we've got an Indiana Oregon rematch, a matchup of probably the top two quarterbacks, most likely that will be taking the NFL draft next year, and Mendoza and Dante Moore. I have to favor Indiana, but that was impressive by Oregon. I didn't expect that at all, and I know you didn't either. And way back when, last year, when Miami beat Ohio State, um, Ohio State, the the Buckeyes won the national championship last year, but watching that game New Year's Eve night, it just it just seemed like there's a bunch of first round, second round NFL draft picks who were really not engaged. It was like a foregone conclusion after a while that Miami was going to win the football game. And I wouldn't call it a lack of motivation, but just kind of a blase attitude to a certain extent. Maybe Miami had a lot to do with that, but you know, a lot was made. Ohio State had this huge payroll last year and probably a huge payroll this year. Hey, money doesn't buy wins sometimes.
As Texas Tech, they
Yeah.
spent more than anybody in America this year, and to get beat as bad as Texas Tech did, uh, it really kind of shocked me. I and a lot of people, I said we get to social media about this. I mean, Big 12 is just getting beat up. The SEC is getting beat up. Uh, the most surprising one to me, Mark, is the very own fan base of the beloved Vanderbilt Commodores all over Clark Lee for some of the decisions he made in the ReliaQuest poll. Dear Vanderbilt, you won 10 games. Do not run this coach out of Nashville. He's doing very well. Um, give him a chance. Be happy with your 10-win season. I mean, some of the stuff I read was just downright silly about the reaction to losing to Iowa in the ReliaQuest Bowl. But that is this is the world we live in, Mark. And I thought about this after I read some of that stuff. Would James Franklin have been fired 20 years ago, 25 years ago before the internet after losing 3 games? There had been grumbling,
No.
but a lot of these firings in the middle of the year come from the fact that the fan base just holds, in essence, the coach and the program hostage because, oh, we're not going to go anymore. We're not going to give any money. You got to get rid of him. We got to get this guy in there. It's a totally different situation than it was before Twitter, X, Instagram, whatever, Facebook, you name it. It's a totally different situation.
It's always the coaches, it's never the players, right? Um, in the case of James Franklin, I mean, last year Penn State was what in the national semifinals?
Yep.
I know everybody knows about his inability to win the big games, and it's a fair criticism for Franklin, but he didn't forget how to coach. He happened to lose 3 games in a row, and people went crazy, and now he's at Virginia Tech. Same thing with Clark Lee. I thought he took a couple calculated gambles during the game, and gambles are great if you hit, and lousy if you don't. He didn't tell the Vanderbilt punter to do what he did and cost Vanderbilt points at the end of the first half of that game. Um, coaches can only do so much, and some coaches have a great influence on their teams, greater than others, I think. Signetti being a perfect example. But no, Clark Lee didn't forget how to coach, and I don't think James Franklin forgot how to coach either.
Before we leave the college football playoff, Mark, would you like to comment on the epidemic, the analytical epidemic that has now taken over the world of football, especially college football, which means we're going to see it in pro to a certain extent as well, which means we're going to see it in the high school ranks next year. What in the world is about every football team in the world going for it on 4th down and 3 from their own 28-yard line now?
The
What
problem,
going on?
that's a problem. You think your team can, if your team's that good, you can get a yard or 2 yards.
And then they run it out of
Uh,
the shotgun and hand it off 5 yards deep.
I thought we were going down the road of the AP preseason poll, but that's okay too.
Well, we can do that too. How'd that go, Mark?
And watching this playoff unfold, I revisited last August 14th, middle of August. That wasn't such a great time for you and I.
No, not really.
Uh, but we survived. Other teams in the poll did not. Do you remember who the number one ranked team was, Scott, to
Texas
start the year?
wasn't
Okay,
it?
that's
Yeah,
good. Most people don't. Okay, the top 5 teams were Texas, Penn State. This is the AP poll now. Ohio State third, did okay. Fourth was Clemson. Fifth was Georgia. Georgia did okay. The top 6 teams in the preseason AP poll are gone. Indiana You know where Indiana was ranked in the AP preseason poll?
I do not remember.
20th. 20th. It now is the number one seed and may win the national championship.
What?
So I have harped on this for a long, long time. I probably you probably get sick of it, Scott, but and maybe other people do too, but it's a mere talking point, like so many other things in this life. It's just a talking point. It's rubbish on it reminds me of the rubbish on social media sometimes. Have the first poll October 1st, and you can get serious about it then. Otherwise, it doesn't mean a damn thing.
Who's going to be number one next year?
Whoever wins a national championship this year, maybe Indiana. I
I'll
don't
give you
know.
I'll give you the top two for next year. Right now, I will do it on January 2nd. I will give you the top two. It's going to be Texas with Arch Manning back, and whoever wins, if Indiana wins the national championship, throw Indiana in there. That's going to be your top two, even with a new quarterback for the Hoosiers.
I'll get back to you on October 1.
I think more and more people are going to agree with you, Mark. But then what do we do? We can't have the big hype video for Saturday's week 3 game when you don't say number 2 Michigan taking on blah 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 or whoever it may be, right?
Yeah, I mean, the first poll was 4 months ago. Look at how much has happened in that time to so many teams. And it'll happen again next year. I know it will. But at least we have a playoff now and not a poll that, for years and years decided the national championship. At least we have a playoff now that will determine it.
Very true. College basketball conference play beginning. Iowa State will start conference play coming up Friday night against West Virginia, a game that Iowa State should probably cruise in pretty handily against the Mountaineers, who are more by most of the experts in the preseason polls, Mark. West Virginia picked in the bottom 3 in the Big 12 conference. Um, Iowa will start play will resume play after the silly 2 games in early December that the Big Ten insists on. We'll start up play again against UCLA on Saturday evening at 5 o'clock at Carver Hawkeye, which leads us, before we go, to getting a prediction. Here we go. See, we're predicting here, Mark, of who's going to win the Big Ten in the Big 12. Does Iowa State win the Big 12 this year?
I think it's got a heck of a shot. It has to get through Arizona, has to get Houston's always going to be there. Kansas is always going to be there. But I think Cyclones have a heck of a shot this season. Iowa State and Arizona only play once this year, and that's at Arizona.
Yep.
Just the way the schedule works out. I'm looking at a period in February when in about a 2 week span, Iowa State plays Kansas, Houston, BYU, Texas Tech, and Arizona in a 2 week span. That's going to decide your Big 12 champion.
I think Iowa State going to Arizona is going to be the difference. I would give Arizona the slight nod. I think Iowa State's got enough firepower to finish in second, if barring injury. Of course, it's not quite as deep as a team that Iowa State had last year, but man, that starting 5 is really, really good and really, really solid. But second would get Iowa State a first or a second seed in the tournament. Big Ten, what is your pick? I will go first. I'm going to go with Dusty May and the Michigan Wolverines. Watching them in the pre-conference portion, they have been terrific. Dusty May can coach, flat out coach, and he's got all kinds of talent up there in Ann Arbor. Uh, Pains me to say it. Sorry, Matt, the Michigan fan, but Michigan, I think, is going to be the Big Ten champion this year.
I don't think that's too far off. If it is even off, I think the Michigan and Michigan State games are going to maybe decide the champion. I'm not convinced about Purdue. Certainly not convinced about Nebraska at this point, even though Nebraska's off to a heck of a start. But you can never, 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 never discount Tom Izzo. Michigan and Michigan State play a home and home this year. Uh, as far as Iowa goes, I think it's a middle of the pack team in the Big Ten, and I think that'd be just fine if it wins 10 games in this league. I think that'd be terrific with the team that I've seen anyway. The important thing I think is to protect the home court because especially again UCLA is off to a 2-0 start in the Big Ten and it's not a great team, but it's a very good team. It lost to Arizona and Gonzaga, and but get this one, then you can maybe go to Minnesota and win one. Then you're 3-1 in the league, but then you got Illinois, Purdue, Indiana, the latter two on the road. That's going to be a tough stretch. I think middle of the pack would be pretty good for Iowa.
And I think that gets them in the tournament.
Yeah.
20 wins gets Iowa in the tournament, without a doubt. Probably sixth, seventh seed, too, I think, for the Hawks. So it all gets started coming up this weekend. And big thanks and a salute to, again, Emel's Hideaway on First Avenue Southeast in Cedar Rapids, our presenting sponsor of the Unash and Dukes podcast. They're open at 4 o'clock Monday through Saturday. Bring the whole family in for a meal or wet your whistle at their fully stocked bar. And if you need catering, give them a call as well. Big thanks to Hunt Graphic Innovations. Also, the personal touch that counts for all your website design, et cetera, with Todd Hunt over there. Ben Ritter Sportswear, Gary Ficken and the gang over there at 817 2nd Avenue Southeast in Cedar Rapids and online at benritter.com. And they're your one-stop store for screen print, embroidery, for polos, T-shirts, hats, and more at Bim Ritter. Thanks to American Family Insurance agent Kurt Gustafson on Johnson Avenue Northwest in Cedar Rapids, right across from the Johnson Avenue High V. And he starts and can be your one-stop insurance guy. If you need free auto, home, or life insurance quotes, see him. And a big thanks to Dr. John Woolner and Epiphany Dermatology on Council Street Northeast in Cedar Rapids as well. And get your appointment made with Dr. Woolner. We will have Mark back next week. Soldier Salute this
Hmm.
weekend in Coralville. So busy weekend. MVC CIML Challenge, although they're all not going to be MVC CIML games, but it sounds good. That's coming up this weekend. Big win for the Iowa women over Nebraska as the Hawkeyes continue to play well in the Big Ten. So, yeah, a lot of things to discuss when we get back together at the start of next week.
Yeah, the NFL playoff schedule minus the Chiefs,
It's
but
okay.
including my Bears.
That's
So
right. You may get a
yeah,
bye. You might not even have to worry about it for 2 weeks.
I don't care either way. They're in the
Just happy.
tournament.
You're just
Yep,
happy.
yep.
You're not on social media getting mad at Ben Johnson right now if they lose Sunday.
Not at all. I'm grateful for what we've got, and one win over the Packers is good. Two wins over the Packers would be great.
Could be a rematch.
Yep.
Could be a rematch. That'd be a lot of fun. All right. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to everybody for watching and listening. And have a good weekend, Mark.
Talk to you next week, Scott.
All right. It's been the Unash and Dukes podcast presented by Emel's Hideaway. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.